Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us with this video on understanding our insurance allocation methodology. The following description is a summary only and is not intended to serve as a substitute for the actual insurance contract, insurance program, or risk management policies of Phi Kappa Sigma International Fraternity. Some of you may be wondering, why do we even have insurance? Well, we all know stuff happens, and this insurance protects the local undergraduate chapter, its officers and members, house corporation, alumni association, and related educational foundation, as well as fraternity-appointed volunteers, from claims arising out of bodily injury and property damage occurring out of the chapter's operations. It also protects against claims arising out of libel, slander, false arrest, invasion of privacy, eviction from the premises, and consumption of food and beverages, as well as incidental malpractice. Others of you may be wondering where your insurance payment goes. First, general liability insurance. This is coverage that pertains, for the most part, to claims arising out of the chapter's liability for injuries or damages caused by property, ownership, contracting operations, sale or distribution of products, the operation of machinery, as well as professional services. Directors and officers liability insurance offers directors and officers protection from personal liability and financial loss arising out of wrongful acts committed or allegedly committed in their capacity as officers and/or directors of the fraternity. Commercial crime coverage is for employee dishonesty by officers of the undergraduate chapter, house corporation, or alumni chapter. To avoid the possibility for crime claims, all chapters and house corporations should be diligent to take certain actions, especially regarding their financial operations. The Member Accident Protection Program is a benefit of membership which covers all recognized active United States undergraduate members and new members that meet certain criteria. This coverage is intended to complement health insurance you should already have through your family or other arrangements, and is not a substitute for primary health insurance. This is a supplemental, accident-only protection and does not provide any protection for medical costs arising out of sickness. Headquarters property insurance is also supported by your payment. And finally, it helps with educational resources and programs offered to the chapters. The fraternity receives a single bill with one due date for our coverage, which is for the entire fraternity, its chapters, and members. Having only one bill, we have developed a method to allocate our insurance costs across all chapters, using an approach that encourages good behavior and deters poor behavior. To address these behaviors, the fraternity has identified 4 categories for offering surcharges and discounts. Risk history. Chapters that have a history of risk may very well have developed a culture of being risky. When consistently exposing themselves to such risk, they are also putting the entire fraternity in jeopardy. Property management. Property, whether owned or leased, can pose a substantial risk to the chapter and fraternity. Proper care and precautions can decrease the possibility for a claim to be made. Chapter performance. When a chapter displays proof of its understanding of the rules, it is less likely to create a risky environment. And finally, chapter participation. Similar to its performance, when a chapter engages in learning the policies and procedures, it is less likely to create a risky environment. The base rate, or starting point for all members, is first calculated by taking the overall bill and dividing it by the number of returning members the fraternity has. We then begin by using some basic math for 2 aspects of each group. Billable men is what could be considered the per-man value when calculating insurance. The adjusted rate is the changes to the base rate after considering surcharges and discounts based on chapter actions. After all of this is done, we check to see if the total amount invoiced to our chapters is at all under or too far over our insurance costs. If so, we need to adjust our base rate. The following surcharges and discounts towards the base rate are key in controlling the chapter's portion of the insurance. More information can be found on the fraternity's website detailing the specifics of each item and how to take action. When a claim or lawsuit is brought against the fraternity, chapter, or its members, it puts a strain on our insurance. If the claim is paid out, the cost of our insurance is likely to go up and will remain higher until the claim falls off our recent record. Therefore, claims made during the last 5 years against a chapter or its members above the thresholds listed will be assessed a surcharge of 25% on a per-claim basis beginning the following year. Chapters placed on probation will be assessed a surcharge of $50 per returning member per infraction. A strong history of good behavior should be rewarded. Unlike the surcharge for being on probation status, chapters that build a history of following policies are rewarded with a cumulative discount. For every year without being found responsible for a show cause incident, the chapter will receive a discount. 2 years without being found responsible equals 10%. 3 years is 15%. And 4 or more years is 25% off the base rate. However, if your chapter is found responsible, it will go back to year 0 for the following year. Chapters with property pose a potential risk. The fraternity has identified chapter property using one or more of the following criteria. Are there Greek letters and/or a fraternity flag on the exterior or visible in windows? Do chapter activities such as meetings, brotherhood events, or recruitment events take place there on a regular basis? Is chapter memorabilia such as awards or composites prominently displayed in the common areas of the property? The fraternity has also identified that there are 2 types of property: residential, which receives a 25% surcharge, and non-residential, which only receives a 10% surcharge. Chapters participating in the fraternity's property insurance program are afforded adequate coverage for their property. By utilizing the same provider, our chapters support this cost-competitive amount for the most comprehensive coverage limits and indemnifications. It also ensures maintaining the benefits of property assessment for replacement cost coverage. Therefore, chapters existing with property and are not in this program will receive a 5% surcharge. Keeping chapter property safe, clean, and maintained is essential to decreasing risk. For this reason, all property utilized by chapters, regardless of the owner, are to be inspected every 2 years for life safety concerns. The rating and response of your chapter will help to ensure a safe environment for all. If you have questions on your chapter's property inspection, please contact the International Headquarters. You could be receiving up to a 20% surcharge, or even receive a 10% discount. Successfully meeting the Mitchell chapter standards shows that a chapter understands and can operate on foundational elements in running an organization. By doing so, they should be able to avoid basic components of risk. To deter poor performance, chapters that do not pass Tier 1 of MCS receive a surcharge of 10%, while chapters going above and beyond full completion of Tier 1 through Tiers 2 and 3 can be rewarded with a discount up to 10%. Chapters that maintain a strong focus on academics have been shown to be less of a risk than chapters that do not. A scale of surcharges and discounts has been established to deter and reward academic performance with surcharges up to 15% or discounts up to 15%. Chapters who utilize fraternity resources to educate their new members are rewarded with a discount, even though it is a requirement. And the chapters that do not successfully use these tools receive a surcharge for their inability. Chapters that do not receive 90% completion by their new members will receive a surcharge of 10%, while chapters that achieve completion by all new members will receive a discount of 10%. When members accept their contributions to the chapter's well-being, they are taking a step in the right direction. The easiest form of this is having members fill out and submit a membership agreement to the fraternity. Chapters that do not submit membership agreements for all new members prior to initiation receive a 10% surcharge. Chapters that do submit all of them will receive a 10% discount. A strong financial background usually indicates that the chapter understands the need for promptness and responsibility. For this reason, chapters who have any debt with the fraternity receive a surcharge for this behavior. Surcharges range from 5 to 15%. Participation by a delegate in the Grand Chapter Convention represents the chapter's commitment to the fraternity and what is at stake as to the governing of its actions. Failure to send a delegate reflects poorly on the chapter's involvement and will receive a 10% surcharge. As our flagship program with over 10 years of history, Men of Honor helps shape attendees in the areas of moral and operational thinking. Chapters that have at least one member attend increase the likelihood of intervention to risk. Therefore, chapters that do not send anyone will receive a 10% surcharge. The Carol Simons Institute is a newer program from the fraternity and focuses on a vast array of sound operational techniques from experienced undergrads and alumni. Sending a participant to this program can help in addressing all of the previous items. As such, it is a step in the right direction and is rewarded with a 5% discount. Feedback from chapters indicates that a two-payment option is a definitive benefit to their cash flow processes. The two-payment option must be requested by emailing staff@pks.org before October 15. You will then make a payment of 50% your initial bill and an additional 4% interest by November 1st. Failure to do this will result in severe punishment, including the possibility of closure. The remaining 50% of the initial bill will be due on February 15. If you are wondering where the additional 4% interest comes from, it is based on a 16% per annum market rate and is intended to offset any interest incurred by the fraternity if taking out a loan to pay off the remainder of our insurance bill. Remember, the fraternity receives a single bill with one due date, even though we offer chapters a two-payment option. We sincerely hope that this video has helped you understand the basics of the fraternity's insurance allocation methodology, and that you can begin to identify the areas where you can take action to reduce your chapter's rate. Remember, the safer we are and can prove to be, then the cost of our insurance will lower over time.